Okay, today we're going to do something relatively easy. So let me get the app started here. Currently you can go to the store and you can buy stuff and you can either put it directly into your inventory or you can add it to the scene. What I want to do, and you can move it around the scene, you can place it where you want it to be. What I want to do now is I want to add long press to let you put it back into your inventory. So the plan is that you're going to hold down the item that you want, and after some time it's going to bring up a dialog that's going to say, do you want to put this back into your inventory or cancel? And if you put it back to your inventory, it'll go into your inventory. If you hit cancel, just stay where it was. So how we're going to do that is we've already got some code here for detecting when our item is touched. So we just need to start listening there and see if we're touching without moving it around. So let's go ahead and let this get launched. Okay, so see here, I can go to the store, I can buy this, I can put it in the scene, and I can put it wherever I want. I can grab it and I can move it around. But now what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to hold it down for some amount of time and have that little dialog come up. So if we hide the phone and we come back into here, we have this touch down, and we're checking to see if we're touching down within ourselves and if the event has already been handled. So in that case, we're going to set this start dragging to true. But I want to add a couple of other things. I want to add a Boolean variable to tell us whether or not it is moved. I want to reset that to false. And I want to know how long it's been down. So I'm going to set a variable that I'm going to reset a variable that tells me how long it's been since it's down. So I'm just going to call it time since down equals 0. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually create these up here. So dragging, this is going to be moved, and then we're going to have a private float time since down. All right. So now if we touch down, we're going to say that we're dragging, which is true. We're going to say that we have not yet moved, and we're going to say that this is when we started touching the thing. Now here, we're getting the position of the item. Get position. Yep, we're getting the position of our thing, the stake in this case, and we're getting an offset from that. So we're setting the position to, we're basically offsetting the position based on how far the user has dragged the thing. Start. And then we're resetting so that next time we just have that delta. So what we want to know, I think we want to know how far it's moved. So, well, we'll worry about that in a minute. We'll just assume that it's not moving at all. And then on touch up, we already reset dragging, so that's fine. So here in the draw call, oh, that's a long, not a float. I thought I changed that. Okay, that's fine. We'll make this a long. Okay, so here in the draw call, we will say if we're dragging and we haven't moved, and time since down is greater than, let's say, a second. for now, I'm just going to log that it happened. This is world item. Nope. World item. And we're going to say long press detected. So this way we can check our logic. Before we do this, we want to say that time since down plus equals delta time. Okay. So let's see if that works. So let's run this. Bring up logcat. Bring up the phone. Of course, the phone is installing a bunch of updates, so it's taking longer to push. All right. So here, we buy a steak, put it in the scene, there. So now let's change this so that we're only showing stuff for the selected application. And we'll clear this. So now I should be able to hold down for a second, and it says long press detected. Nice, okay. So that's cool. We'll clear that. Long press detected. Fantastic. Okay. So if the long press is detected, then we're going to say that dragging is false because we're done touching the thing, right? And then we want to show a dialog. So let's actually notify the game world dot we're going to prompt inventory return. Inventory return for this. So we're going to tell the game world to ask the user if this thing should go back in the inventory. All right, so let's get to the game world. Here. So let's add a public void prompt inventory return. And this is going to take a world item view. Item. And here we want to show a dialog. So let's look at our renderer, because in our renderer we show a dialog. And let's bring this over here. Right? Where is it? Or is it in game world? Nope. Where's our dialogue? On here. Log. Oh, it's an inventory. Hold on. Store. Dialog. Here we go. So then we just add it to ourselves. Okay, easy enough. So let's go to the game world and we will create a dialog. And in here, This is probably not the best way to do it, but we'll see. World item view, item to return. And down here we'll say dialog equals new dialog. The first argument is the message. Place item dot place. Let's do string format. Let's put this up here. Place this thing back in your in the inventory. And we're going to say item dot get model dot get name. Okay. And this is going to be the message. And then we want the two buttons. So we're going to have cancel. And the other one will just say confirm. And then we have our two actions. So our first action is just going to dismiss the dialog. And the second action is going to dismiss the dialog, and then for now we'll just log.d actually, you know what? No, I have a way to do this. I don't think I do. Actually, we'll just log this for now. Place item in inventory. Okay. And then we'll show the dialog. And we'll add it. But here we actually need to, either way we need to remove the dialog, but I don't have a way to remove child. So why don't we create the dialog up front, and we'll just add a way to change the message. So here we'll create that. And down here, I'll have this. And let's see what that does for now. Oh, you guys can't see any of that, can you? Huh, okay. So all I did there was I moved the dialog up here so that we initialize it when we create the game world. And then we need to add it. Shoot. So we're going to add it as a child right away so that we don't have to keep adding it or worrying about removing it or any of that stuff. But for now, let's see if it works. So I'm going to add a stake to the scene, put it somewhere, long press on it, and we get a crash. Okay, so let's see why we crashed. Class cast exception. Cannot be cast to world item view. Game world. Oh, okay. So this is some weird code that I have to remove stuff from the world so that we can update with the simulation. So I just have to add it in here. And child does not equal dialog. So what's happening, he was trying to cast it to world item view and remove it, but we don't want to do that. You still can't see that, can you? Man, I need to get better at this. Okay, so here, let's do this. Let's move the phone over here for now, since we're mostly working on the right-hand side. Usually I work on the left-hand side. I don't know why I'm doing so much on the right-hand side today. Okay, so I just added another condition here to the if to say if it's the dialogue, don't remove it. We're only trying to remove the items that we've added to the scene, like the stake and stuff like that. Come on. Yeah, see, it's installing a bunch of stuff. There we go. Okay. I didn't set it, so I'm just going to cancel for now. That'll dismiss it. So I didn't set it to being not visible by default, so I'm going to add this to the scene. Long press. Brings up our dialogue. What happened there? The phone battery died. Is that what happened? Yep. Alright, well this stream is not going nearly as well as I had hoped. Alright. So let's get my phone instead of my test phone. The downside here is that if people try to message me, it's going to come up on there. But that's okay. Come on. Yep, all kinds of stuff going on here. Okay, so let's close that down. Let's open TeamViewer and let's connect to my Pixel. Close this. Okay, Pixel, remote control, pop that out, minimize that, bring it over here so you don't have to see it in two places. Okay, so now let's minimize this, let's push the app. Okay, so now we should be okay. Let's come to the game world and see, because now our dialogue is showing, so I'm just going to cancel it. So add the stake to the scene, boom, long press. The stake shows on top of the background. Oh no, I guess that makes sense because of the rendering order. Shoot. Okay, but here we can hit confirm and connect to the correct phone, and it says replace item in inventory. Cool. So somehow we've had a couple of issues here. The first thing we need to do is when we create the dialog, we need to set it to not visible by default. Okay. Down here, when we go to replace it in the inventory, here we go. We actually need to update the message. So dialog.set message, and this doesn't exist, so I'm going to have to make it. So I'm going to set the message. Let's go to the dialog and add that in there. Nope. Now see, I almost moved that over to the left-hand side. So we're going to leave the phone. You know what? We don't need the phone for now. Turn off the phone. Move the dialog over here so I can see them both at once. So in the game world, here's where we're setting that message. Okay, so I'm going to just add another method, public void set message string message, and here I'm going to say message.setText message. Easy enough. So now that exists, so when we update we should get the name of the thing we're trying to replace. So now let's go to the simulation service and place item from inventory. Then we have this purchase item. We've already purchased the item. So I'm going to create public void return item to inventory. And that's going to take an item model. We're not going to add a purchase. So here, let me add another list here that is to place, to update, to return. Let's create a new one. We'll make that a new array list so that we can keep track of all the stuff that we have to return to the inventory. We'll synchronize on that. And then we'll say to return.add item. Okay, so now we're just creating this list so that when we do our next simulation update, we can get all the things that we want to return and put them into the right place. So here, the first thing we do is we get the previous state and the current state. And then we just copy all the stuff, all the items and all the inventory from the previous state to the current state. And then we go through and we handle any purchases or placing items in the world or anything like that. So here we're going through purchasing, then here we're going through placing. Here we're updating items, which would update their position on the screen. So first, I'm going to do the returning of stuff. So for item model, item in to return, all I'm going to do is say current.world.inventory add item. So now, why is this yellow? Oh, add all. Sure. I think under the covers I just do that anyway. So let's go ahead and let this do it. Yep. Okay, so now if we look at this, inventory is this thing that I created called a stackable list. And all that does is look to see if there is already an item model in there. And if there is, then instead of adding it again, it just updates the quantity, right? So it's a little bit intelligent. Oh, I wanted to see if add all actually did what I expected it to do. Yeah. So it just iterates through and adds them. So that's fine. That's what I was doing here anyway. But then I have to remove that thing from the world. So I have to add it to the inventory and remove it from the world. Current.world.items.remove all to return. So now let me see what this does. This items is not a stackable list, it's just a list. So that's going to check for quality to find those things to remove them. And that should be okay because I override the equals method in item model. Yeah, to check to make sure they have the same UUID. Because we're going to have multiple instances of what should be the same item. Because we have one item in the previous simulation frame, one item in the current simulation frame that actually represent the same thing. And then we take a copy of that into the renderer. So we should have 3 items of the same thing. Now I don't need to update the renderer because it will do that when it gets the simulation frame. So as long as I do this correctly here, so I should say simulation get instance get service dot return item to inventory. What did I call that thing? What did I call it? Item to return. Let's break this up a little bit. Service equals this. Get service. Service return to inventory. Item to return dot get model. So that should come in here. It should add that to the list. Then on the next simulation frame, it should get taken out of the world and added to the inventory. Okay, so let's see if that works. Okay, so our dialog doesn't show up now, which is cool. Let's buy a steak, add it to the scene. Long press, place steak back in the inventory. If I hit cancel, nothing happens. Long press confirm, and we crash. Okay, so let's see why we crash. Null pointer exception. Oh, we're trying to call get model on something that doesn't exist because we don't set it here. Item to return equals item. Okay. But then once we do that, either way we should say item to return equals null, right? Okay, so here, buy a steak, put it in the scene, long press, confirm, it's gone. it's in our inventory with a 0. Interesting. Why is it in our inventory with 0? Probably because when we put it in the game world, we didn't update its inventory or its quantity. Where's the right place to do that? I mean, like, it seems like the default value for that model should be 1. And it is. Okay, so we bought it from the store. Create view, dialog. So does the deep copy on model? Yeah, it copies the quantity over. So if we want to add it to the scene, we hide the dialog, we hide the store, we make a copy of the model and add that to items to purchase for world. Item to add. Then once we drop it, we tell it to purchase the item. Purchase item. And we're putting it in the world. So let's come down here to the update. To purchase. So we're iterating through the purchases. Purchase item is world. Oh, if we can purchase the item and it's going into the world, we get a copy of it, we reset its ID, and we add it to the world. So at what point does its value get set to 0? All right, let's put some breakpoints in here and see what's going on. So here we're going to put a breakpoint to see that it goes into this scene. And here we're going to put a breakpoint where we're going through our purchases. So it should be here. And here I'm going to set a breakpoint before we add it to make sure everything's kosher. And let's debug. Okay. So I want to buy the steak, I'm going to place it in the scene, and I hit my breakpoint. So the selected item model has a quantity of 1. Okay. So I'm going to step over, and then I want to step into this, get model, step into this, deep copy. I'm copying the quantity over. Quantity is 1. Okay, so I'm going to step into there. So now item here should have a quantity of 1, and it does. Okay, so now I'm going to run. So when I touch down and let up, I come in here. So now item to add is that same thing. So she still has a quantity of 1. So we're going to step into here, a few times to get down to where we're actually adding that item to our list. Place in inventory. So here we're creating a new purchase item. So I'm going to step into that. That's taken me somewhere. What's going on here? What's going on here? Okay, let's try that again. Okay. So we're going to add it to the scene. We've already verified that breakpoint, so I'm going to remove it. I'm going to drag it around and drop it. We've already verified that, so I'm going to remove that. So now, come on. Now we should go here. Awesome. So our action has this item. This item has a quantity of 1. And we're doing deep copy, so our item here should have a quantity of 1. We're going to reset the serial number. We're going to add it to the world. And there it is. Okay. So let's go back to world and see what happens. When we prompt a return. So let's set a breakpoint here. So now item should still have a quantity of 1. Oh, right, we want the model quantity of 1. Okay, so let's run there. Let's come here into our thing. We're going to confirm that selection. So our items to return model has a quantity of 1. Okay. So let's come into the simulation and say to return run that. So now here to return is a list. It has nothing in it. There we go. Has something in it. Has a quantity of 1. So let's step over. Step into our add all. So let's step into here. Model has a quantity of 1. It doesn't already contain model, so we're just going to add it to items. Okay. So let's look at our inventory. So here we're pulling stuff out of the pool, which there should just be the one thing, and then we're clearing the items. So now our pool should have, oh crap. Yep, okay. Model quantity 0. Okay, so here is a thing, right? So I tried to create this view pool so that we'd be more efficient, but we're not at all being more efficient because we're never taking anything out of the pool. So we just keep adding the same things to the pool over and over again. So here, I'm going to say viewPool.remove item, and then remove check, and then return check. Cancel. Let's debug this. Get rid of that. Okay. Run. Place it in the scene. Confirm. So now here, items should be something. It's 1. So we're going to add that to the inventory. And then clear items. So now viewPool should have 1 thing in it, and it does, which is cool. Okay. So now we're going to find item for view. So now viewPool should be empty, and it is. Cool. And we've got this view, which has a model, which has a quantity of 0. I'm not sure how that even happened, but that's okay. That's fine. So we're going to set the quantity from the item. In this case, item is a model, and its quantity is 0. Its quantity is 0 in the inventory. Okay. Don't need this. Is it here? So let me put this here. Okay. Let's debug that again. Add this to the world and pick it up, confirm. So now I have this breakpoint, so I can set a breakpoint here. Oop. Remove that breakpoint and then run, and the next time we hit this breakpoint, current world inventory, previous world inventory. So here we're going to come down to return current world items has 1 thing in it, and we're going to remove that thing and then add that thing to the inventory. So now the inventory has 1 thing, and that 1 thing has a quantity of 1. Okay. So now here, previous world inventory has that 1 thing with a quantity of 1, and current world inventory has nothing. So if I step into here, this is the thing I want to copy, and it should have a quantity of 1, and it does. So if destination has something, which it doesn't, so we're going to say to copy deep copy. quantity is 1. So now item container has a quantity of 1. And then I add that to the list. Which it doesn't have, so I'm just going to straight up add it to the list. So now items has a quantity of 1. Done here. Didn't purchase anything. Didn't place anything. Oh. God. I need to clear out the list of stuff that we've returned. Otherwise, we'll do that every time. I still don't know why that would affect the quantity. Okay. There we go, quantity 1. So let's buy another one. Put it in the scene. Okay, so now we have the 1 in the inventory and we have the 1 on the scene. So let's put that in the inventory. Takes us to 2. Okay. There we go. All right. Now the thing that we might want to do is we might want to only see if the dragging, or if the long press, we want it only to happen when we're not trying to drag it, right? So if I buy this thing and I put it in the scene and I place it down and then I go to grab it and I'm dragging it around, see the dialog comes up. So now that this is where we need to use that did we drag it or did we actually move it variable. So here let's come to touch move, and for now let's see if we can get away with just saying yes, we moved it. So we might have to check how far it's moved, because this might be too sensitive, but we'll see. Okay. Place this in the scene. Now I'm gonna. Now see, yeah, that's way too sensitive. Now I can't activate the thing because any little bit off. Okay, so now we need to see how far it's moved. So how about on touch down we save its original position. I'm going to sort of break these out a little. Well, no, this is reasonable. Start, I'm actually going to refactor and rename that to previous position. Because it's the position in the previous frame. And then down here, I'm going to create another point that is the drag start. Okay, so now what we can do is when we touch down, we can say drag start dot set get position. So I'm gonna start where I am, and I want to check to see how far I've moved. So here, I want to say distance equals, what is the distance? It's, I should know this. Yep, it's the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay, so I'm going to do math dot square root of the current position, so event dot position dot x plus drag start dot x. I want to, well, here, let's do x squared. And y squared. Position dot x, y. Okay. And so now here we're going to do the square root of, oh, it's minus. These are all minus. And this is going to be the square root of x squared plus y squared. Okay. And we're going to cast that to a float. All right, so now we have to check to see how far that is. And let's say if you've moved outside of the, basically like the radius of the thing. So say if distance, let's do the absolute value of the distance, is greater than frame dot width or frame dot height, then we'll say we've moved. Otherwise, we will not say we've moved. We might want to have that actually. Let's see. Okay, so here. Nope. So let's set a breakpoint and debug. Okay, so drag start is not what I expected because the event, oh, yep, instead of get position we want get screen rect dot, is there a way to get a position out of that? No. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's change this to a recdef. And instead of doing this, we will say moved equals drag start dot contains event dot position. If it contains it, it doesn't. If it does not contain it, then we moved. Okay. Okay. Place that in the scene. Now I get my dialogue. And if I drag it around, oh, but if I come back. Okay. So let's not do this every time. Let's only ever set it to false or to true. So we'll say if this then moved is true, because we have moved it, but we'll never set that back to false because we don't want to like be able to come back into the same box, right, and see that it's been updated. Okay. So by scene place. So now long press. And we get it, so I'm going to cancel that. Now I'm going to drag it around, and I don't get it. Cool. Okay, so that's what I wanted to accomplish today. Thank you all for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.